And thank you all so much for joining us today. Tech tools for time savings is our topic. I'm Erica, joined by Bree, and we're going to share just a little bit about ourselves before we dive into the content. A little bit about me as it pertains to our content today. I'm the COO at RASA. Prior to my time at RASA, where I started my career was in Tulane's Office of Undergraduate Admission. I'm still in New Orleans today. And it was around the time, the advent of a lot of really great marketing tools that are now household names like MailChimp and HubSpot. And that marketing technology just was so intriguing to me and so compelling, because we marketed Tulane to hundreds of thousands of prospective students, families, and guidance counselors. And so I was really interested in how marketing tools could help us scale our operations and reach people on a very personalized basis. And so that led me to my next role, managing a team at a large marketing agency in the Gulf South. And we did everything online. We did SEO, we did social media optimization, social media marketing, front end and back end web optimizations, web development, basically everything online, you name it, and we did it. But the one thing that we really steered clear of was email, because email is a hard thing to do in a really quality way and at scale. Bree and I think we're probably both compelled to go down our paths that we have, because using AI and automation to scale email operations was definitely a need that we probably both identified. And so that's what brought me to RASA. And I love not just learning about automation tools and AI application to email, but also just AI application to a lot of marketing tools. So it's a hobby of mine, and it's something that I love to speak to folks about. And so along those lines, before I hand it over to Bree to introduce herself and kind of kick us off and get started, we came together to talk to you folks today about tools to help make your lives easier. Many of those involve AI. That's not something that we can really escape at this point. A lot of the smart automation tools, even if they didn't involve AI before, or even if they didn't leverage AI within them before, now do, because the forward thinkers in the space are making sure to incorporate AI into their own tools and platforms. So we're going to go through a bunch of them, some AI forward, some not so much, but all tools that are going to make your lives easier, faster, smarter. And then we're going to talk a little bit about RASA and Prop Fuel toward the end, but we're going to cover over 25 tools today. So it's going to be lots of great information, and hopefully you'll come away with this thinking, okay, there are at least 3 or 4 tools that I can get started with and start experimenting with today. So with that, Bree, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Brianne Wheeler. I'm the Director of Marketing at Prop Fuel, and I have spent, the last handful of years I've been with Prop Fuel building our marketing function. Prior to that, most of my experiences was in the association space. So I worked at Texas Medical Association on the non-dues side. I worked for an AMC and helped several healthcare organizations grow and think differently about marketing and communications. And that's really what I'm passionate about. Is I think that marketing and communications, particularly in the association space, is very personal. And if it's not, that it has the opportunity to be, because that's what it's all about, is connecting people and working toward the same goal together, whether it's career focused or some other cause. So I'll talk a little bit about Prop Fuel a little later, but as Erica mentioned, we have an email platform, and it's really based on conversations and the thought about trying to mimic what we do in real conversations like we're having today, but in the digital form. And so I think that in addition to just thinking about things in a new light, thinking about how we can use tools and leverage them to save time is really, really important. We have a lot on our plates, and I know that both in my current role and in all of my past roles with associations. So I'm excited to share with you what we've come up with today.
Great.
So I wanted to open with just big picture thinking about how we're getting work done and how we're strategizing. I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of stop and rethink everything that you're doing right now. And that has a couple different categories to it. So one of them is just organization, how you get your work done, how you schedule things, how you're spending your time, and communicate and really work with others, whether it's internally or externally. There is a lot of opportunity right now to say, am I being as efficient as I can be? Am I being effective in how I'm communicating? And is there a better way that I can do this that maybe is less painful, right? Like some things we do on a day-to-day basis and it feels hard or it feels laborious. And there are so many ways to eliminate that kind of feeling from your daily work. So the second category is strategy, how you think about and execute, the big picture. So your organization has goals and a mission ultimately behind it. And so thinking about how you communicate and help the organization achieve goals through engagement and whatever other projects you're working on. There are so many tools out there to help you do that so that you don't have to start from scratch. And same thing on the tactics side. So this is, I feel like, where we get really bogged down and really spend a lot of time is in the tactics space. Even I know for me, for projects and activities like webinars like this one, it can take a lot of time to build a deck, think about content, think about what you want to say and how you want to say it. And so there's like the creation piece of that. There's the publishing, if it's, in this webinar type form, or if it's a resource for your members. And then of course, like segmentation, workflows, all of these things typically take a lot of time out of our day, and we get bogged down with them and then can't do the other things like the big strategic pictures and the new concepts and thinking of new ways to do things. So I think with all of the automated tools that we have at our fingertips and everything that's to come, there's so much opportunity to just rethink how we're doing things.
And along the
Yes. And as a matter of fact, I used AI for this presentation in a couple of different ways. We're both big fans of Canva, and we use it frequently for many, many things throughout our day, whether it's graphics for this webinar or the actual presentation itself. And so I was thinking about, as I was thinking about the content for this presentation, I was like, okay, how can I actually save time on what I want to say? How can I just get a jump start? And so I asked the question in chat GPT, how can association marketers save time with AI? And I got this nice long list in 2 seconds or whatever it is. And I think the point I want to make about this is that I think that there seems to be this like looming threat that AI is going to take over everything. And we can leverage it for good as a supplement to everything we're doing and to help us just, again, get things done more quickly. So this was a great way for me to just say, okay, yeah, obviously I want to talk about personalized member communications and even on the tactics level, yes, chatbots, that's what I want to talk about. And so it's not a replacement for any of our skills or our knowledge. It's more just a way to enhance and speed up what we're doing. Erica,
I love that. I love that lens that you came at it from, enhancing and giving us a jump start. How many of us have ever procrastinated on work tasks with like other work tasks? Because it's like you just don't want to quite get started because the blank canvas can be so intimidating. And I feel like that's one of the great things that AI can be used for in terms of time savings, is taking away that intimidation of the blank canvas. And then I also love something that you said earlier too, like think about the more arduous tasks that you're doing, the more labor intensive. I always like to tell people, think about the things that are that don't inspire you and don't make you excited about your day to day. and make a list of those things. Or even better, take an inventory of your weeks. Go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, get out a good old fashioned spreadsheet and really document where you're spending your time. It'll be insightful for a lot of reasons, but you will also figure out, where are those arduous minutes going? Like, what are the things that don't inspire me, that don't make me feel creative, that really feel like unnecessarily tactical, the tactical time's unnecessarily long and it feels tedious. And so those are the areas that are ripe for disruption and that you should be considering during this webinar as we go through these slides, and using tools maybe to either more so optimize your time or really cut back on the number of hours you spend doing certain things that don't excite you. And so kind of along those lines, not every tool that we talk about today is going to be in the marketing realm. I'd say maybe like 60 to 70% of them will qualify along those lines, but it really is an area that has been ripe for disruption. We don't need to go too deep into these terms, but we all know marketing automation is software platforms and tech to automate repetitive workflows and tasks. AI is making machines smart. And so in its simplest definition, marketing AI is the science of making marketing smart. So that is a lot of the tools we're going to cover today are these like marketing AI tools to, again, help you more optimize and automate your workflows and make them smarter. This was a study that I like to cite often because it's really enlightening. McKinsey came out a few years ago saying by 2030 there will be a $13 trillion impact on the global economy. This came out before the advent of ChatGPT and Bard and Anthropic's Claude and Salesforce and HubSpot and Adobe are all getting in on the game. And now the world has just changed ever since November 2022. Things have been happening this whole time leading up to this inflection point. But I think we all certainly can't deny that there has been an inflection point and there is now an opportunity to really kind of disrupt our work and like Bree said, rethink everything in the way that we do a lot of different things. And then going back to the marketing piece of that major impact, a pretty significant portion is going to be on the sales and marketing realm. So what do we do about it? Well, there are a few ways to kind of think about, what are the areas that are ripe for disruption? One being like for your personal workflows, like where are you spending your time doing things that you don't love? Another way to think about it is like how much can I automate away and what tools are, where do tools kind of fall in this, what we call marketer to machine scale. This is a really useful framework that I like to cite that was put together by the folks at the Marketing Artificial Intelligence Institute. If you are in the marketing realm and you are super interested in staying on top of this stuff, Paul Reitzer and his colleagues at this organization put out a lot of great information and do a really great job of assessing various marketing AI tools and just AI tools in general, and a lot of these tools that help you optimize your time. And so they put out this marketer to machine scale where you can think about tools like where do they fall and how like AI focused are they and what do they optimize and where are they helping you apply intelligent automation. So level 0 being all human all the time, the AI is only capable, or there is no AI. The system's only capable of doing what you've explicitly instructed it to do. Whereas, then there's all the way to this level 4, where you just define the outcome as the marketer and the machine gets there on their own. Most things are not quite there. A lot of the tools we're using today or have the potential to use today are living in this level 2, level 3 realm. So how do you intelligently automate things that you might have been doing very manually and might have been really rote in the past? So the way to think about this is you evaluate. And then also kind of along the lines of like one tool to rule them all. So if you're evaluating various tools to kind of take into your tech stack, how do they talk to the big players like the HubSpots and the Salesforces and the Marketos? I know we're an association group here, so we're not all going to be on these tools. A lot of us have more traditional AMSs, which is fine, but think about when you do implement a new tool for time savings into your tech stack, like how does it talk with the other tools in your world? Specifically, these 3 have really great and robust marketplaces. that kind of showcase a lot of the tools that have natively integrated to each of them. But if you don't have one of those, like one tool to rule them all sort of situations, Zapier is a really great option for kind of like smaller scale integrations and even just like automating your own workflows. So put in the chat if anyone's familiar with Zapier, uses it for some of their own workflows. So Zapier is essentially like this umbrella over thousands and thousands of different applications that have kind of like built integrations, built their own integrations, and allow you to be a non-coder and have these applications talk to each other. So so for example, you have tons, like millions of workflows that can be connected with all of these applications all talking to Zapier. So if let's say you have an event that's coming up and you want every time someone who registers for an event, you want that to create a task in your Asana or your Trello, or send you an email, or get someone signed up for an email sequence. All of these things are things that are possible to do in Zapier without coding in and without doing sort of like a deeper integration. Instead, it consists of more like field mapping and things that you and I could do, as opposed to like needing to get someone in from IT. So we had a workflow that we used whenever we'd get like a new client back in the day. We'd have the client came into our dashboard, we'd have a row updated in one of our Google Sheets, we'd add them to our blast campaigns in MailChimp, they'd get the Rasa newsletter, and then they'd also go into PropFuel to get their like so that we could kind of check in with them and continue to engage them. So this was a fun workflow we had through. So that was just like one step, all 5 of these things happen. So Zapier's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think the key with that is, I just wanted to add, this can seem overwhelming, I think, because there are so many possibilities for what do I start with? And I think starting with either one project or, just in one area, like what's the biggest need here where I am doing a lot of manual tasks? What can we use Zapier for? Starting small is the key, because I know it can seem overwhelming to implement.
Absolutely. And Zapier is one of those great tools that starts with like a free plan. So you could just pop in there, connect a couple of your tools, see how you might be able to automate some of your workflows. They do a great job of like recommending workflows. And so it could be just a fun thing that you play around with one afternoon.
Yeah. And Elaine, you said it's definitely overwhelming, not knowing what can be done. So examples are helpful. Yeah. I think even just starting with looking at what systems you can connect in there, you might identify, okay, we have 5 of these. So what are we doing in these areas right now? And what can we add to it, or, enhance, or again, make something more automated to save time. Just start small, I think, is my recommendation on that.
Totally agree. Don't be like, you don't need to do a full systems overhaul to start.
No.
You can start with some edge cases, some maybe like a high visibility project that won't overwhelm your entire stack, for example. So let's get into it. This is, we've heard in the past that this could be like drinking from a fire hose in a good way. There are a lot of tools out there. If you go, there are a bunch of AI tool directories and time savings and automation tool directories out there. You'll see that those get added to every single day. It's pretty unbelievable, everything that's coming on the scene. So not to completely overwhelm, but there are a few that we wanted to go over today in terms of content generation. So we already saw our friend ChatGPT, but there are a couple tools like ChatGPT out there. So the folks at Anthropic, it used to be at ChatGPT, the founders of Anthropic broke off from ChatGPT, created their own Claude. Claude can be trained on even more extensive data in just one prompt. Pretty cool if you haven't experimented with it yet. We have Google's Bard. We'll go into an example of that here shortly. If you are an organization and you want to experiment with content generation, but you don't want to use like one of these tools where they're going to learn from the prompts that you put in and use that as their own training data, There are tools out there like a Shortly AI or a Jasper, where you can essentially train them on your own content and you can define their learning set. They're really great content generation tools. And then we have the image-based one. So let's actually, I thought we could even, pop out and take a look at some of these. So if you haven't experimented with a tool called DALL-E, if it pulls up here for me, there we go. So if you're someone who creates a lot of blogs at your organization, or you're always putting out new articles and you are struggling to find imagery to go along with those articles, tools like a DALL-E or a Runway, which we'll get into really quickly, could help you. So I typed in, this was my prompt for this one. If you want something, I did blue elephant drinking from a pool of crystal clear water. So all of these were just generated in a moment. Where I'm food and wine, we work with the Institute of Food Technologists. I was thinking about some of our clients, or like our legal clients. And so you'd imagine that sometimes these stock imagery sites can be like kind of boring and everyone has the same images, but now you can generate your own and do it really, really quickly. Also in terms of video and content generation. So this is pretty cool. What's available now, like this is not something I wouldn't say like go create all of your member videos with a prompt these days, but what's going to happen in a few years is the text to video and image to video capabilities are going to become pretty unbelievable. So this is a pic. I used a picture of Hanauma Bay. Hanauma Bay is a beautiful, beautiful place in Hawaii, and I just uploaded a single frame. And it created a 4-second video from that frame. Now I know you're probably thinking, okay, big deal, a 4-second video. That's not terribly exciting. But if you think about what's possible now, I don't even pay for this tool, Runway, but I've been experimenting with it. I only get so many credits. But you can imagine that with text and with just a couple images or just a couple frames in the future, you'll be able to, much more quickly generate your content, and content creation is going to become a lot more streamlined, depending on, of course, the content you're creating. We talked about Claude. So Claude's the Anthropic chat version of ChatGPT. We also, if you are a podcaster at your organization, I'm actually going to reshare my screen because I want to make sure I share it with audio. So also in the way of content generation. So if you're a podcaster, you probably know that editing those audio files can be really arduous, take a ton of time. You might want to have to outsource that to someone else, not even in the organization, to help you with those files. But right now there are tools that can take in your audio file, script it out, and allow you to make edits to that file with just typing in a few things. So let's see, to kind of give you an idea, I just shared with myself. Okay, so here's the before file. This guy's gonna not sound that.
So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets.
So not that convincing, right? But what you can do with these tools is delete out your filler words, like your likes and your ums and your uhs, and actually even write in new words. So essentially deep faking your own voice. So yes, these tools are getting, kind of crazy what they're capable of, but here's the after. Oops, let's try that.
So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets.
So a little more confident, but you can imagine now for 29 bucks a month or whatever this starts at, you're able to do things that you could maybe previously only outsource and have to pay a lot of money for, and that took a long time. So let's see. Okay. All right, let's talk about going back into share mode here. Some other ways that that you can really save time as a marketer. Think about how you might launch a campaign, let's say like an email campaign or an ad campaign or social media campaign. And you might do some A/B testing, or you might launch a couple different versions, or it might have some manual segmentation that you've done. But so oftentimes we don't necessarily go back to look at the data and see how the campaigns performed in order to determine how we refine and how we get better. And so that's what a lot of these tools that are coming up are able to do. So Albert is one that helps you with your creative. So like writing the content for your ads, the visuals, testing colors, and then automatically kind of optimizes those campaigns based on what's performed the best. And it works in a lot of the, the paid online ad platforms that you're familiar with. And so like Google, Facebook, all those things. So the amount of planning, building, figuring out what's better, what to pause, what to optimize, what to boost up, all of that can be automated. As far as meeting software goes, so going away from the direction of marketing here for just a little bit, many of you are probably familiar with like tools that can record your meetings. Obviously we can, record our meetings in Zoom, but the capabilities in these tools have been really, really built out to an incredible extent. Again, for in this case, not a ton of money. So like Grain and MeetGeek, what they'll do is they'll script out your meetings, and they'll also summarize them, and in many cases send you a nice email summary of your meeting. So if you can't be in two places at once, so like this is a client roundtable that we did, and we had a few of our clients come in and give us feedback. So it not only scripted it out, but what it did is it used AI to summarize the main points of the meeting. And so again, like for people who couldn't be in this meeting, or if you wanted a quick refresh of what happened, these tools can be incredibly valuable and help you with your time savings. Okay, just a few more, and then I will turn it over to Bree. So going back into my present mode here. So Ally AI is similar to that whole idea of like automatically optimizing your ad campaigns, but doing it with SEO. So we work with many associations, and a lot of them come to us and say like, we see their SEO because we pull in their content automatically with our platform. So we kind of see their SEO in action. We see like, are you publishing an image with your new website content? Like, are you publishing a meta description? Are you putting in like a good SEO optimized title? And I know the world of SEO is going to change pretty dramatically with the advent of a lot of these generative and chat tools. But it's still a good thing to tell these tools thoroughly what your website content is about. So if you're someone who's like, oh my gosh, we haven't even started down the road of SEO, I don't even know where to begin. Ally AI is a tool that could help you automate a lot of your optimizations and make recommendations. So you're just saying like yes and no and doing the approval and review process, as opposed to saying like just starting from scratch with all of your optimizations, maybe back-end optimizations, front-end optimizations, and kind of help guide you. So that's another great thing that a lot of these tools for time savings can do with you is and to Bree's point earlier, is help guide you and make recommendations for where to start. And then kind of taking it back a notch, if you don't even know where to begin when it comes to creating content that's SEO forward or SEO friendly, there's a really cool tool called Answer the Public. And what it does is it allows you to type in a topic. So if you want to write about food, or if you want to write about legal, to use some really vague general examples, it will use AI to kind of aggregate all of the search terms in a given country and say, here's what people are searching as it relates to, like in this case, WordPress right now. And so give you an idea of like how you can be the association that answers these people's questions. And that's called Answer the Public. It's been actually around for a while, and now it's using AI in a new cool way. All right, and then I think I have one more. So this is also along the theme of like automatically optimizing your stuff. This one's called Lately. This is a social tool, so it helps you like intelligently recycle your social content. It helps you optimize the time that you're posting, and it helps you optimize the overall post as well. So that's a cool one if you're looking for an AI smart way to post your content. And I think they do some like generative content stuff in there too. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop my share here really quick so that Bree can drive and talk about some even more tools for time savings.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me hit the full screen here. Okay. All right. That should be full screen now. So going back to those three buckets that I talked about early in the presentation, the organization piece, I think, is something I know I struggle with this, just how work gets done on a daily basis and prioritizing and even time blocking. And but there are also things that you're probably not thinking about that you can automate. Like I pulled this from monday.com. Monday is really a marketer's tool for organization and tasks and projects. I'm not actually using this. I used it for a little bit. I'm not using it currently, but it's great at just putting everything together and saying, okay, this is what needs to get done today. I mean, there's some other similar tools like this, but this one's great for marketers. And I have a couple of examples here, like when this gets approved, notify project owner. It's all of these little things during the day, like, okay, now I have to send this person an email. Well, now you can eliminate that email because you don't have to send it anymore. And, when there's a due date that arrives, move this, here. It's all of those. It's kind of, I think of them as like secondary tasks. Like you have, what you're supposed to be doing every day, but then there is a second set of tasks that goes along with getting all of those things done. And so I would check this out if you haven't already. And like I said, there are several other tools like it. The other thing I thought of, which I didn't put in this presentation, is our whole team at PropFuel a couple of weeks ago wanted to see where our time was going. And we did a trial of what's called Toggle. I believe it's TOGGL. And so for 2 weeks, all of us tracked our time, and we had like 5 or 6 different buckets of things. So like one of mine was admin and travel. Another one was content creation. So you kind of start to see as you put in tasks or as you start to track your time, what bucket it goes into. So it's not just a particular, I wrote up an email for this campaign. It's really more designed to be general. Okay, it's for this type of task. And then you see, okay, I'm spending, in my case, for those 2 weeks, it was like 43% of my time was spent on content creation, which was probably a little heavy for me given like my normal schedule, but really fascinating to see where I'm spending in my time and where the rest of your team is spending your time as well. So I would definitely look into that. You can put in manual tasks, and then you can also literally time yourself, like put it in your browser and just hit the little button and it'll start timing your task, and then you can mark it later for the actual activity. So another on the organization front, PropFuel uses Slack extensively. We basically don't have internal email at this point, which might seem impossible. But it's really, unless we have something happening that's external to the organization, we really aren't sending email back and forth. And yes, Slack is not a new tool, but it's also a huge opportunity to save time. So a couple things you might not have thought of about Slack is there's an efficiency to it. You can, have different channels, different groups of people. People can actually tune out to whatever they don't want to get notifications on, which is great, because how many times have you been CC'd on an email with 50 people that's completely irrelevant to you, right? So it's a way of kind of filtering out some of what you don't need, which is also a time savings.
And getting notifications like from other apps too about what you do need, because you can integrate.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Bringing in, notifications. It connects with several other tools. That's a great point. The other thing is first of all, it's global, so it can be across your whole organization. And then also it's searchable. So if you think about, certainly you've experienced turnover in your organization, and if things are well organized in Slack, someone who's not even working at your company yet can, when they come on and they're looking for something, they can go back into the archive and find what they need. So you're actually saving time of the rest of the company or team, whatever it is, in just training and access to information. So it's really a great replacement for internal email, which has become, in my opinion, very, very inefficient. So I'd encourage you to seek out best practices. If you're a PropFuel client, like you might, if there's a particular Slack question you have, you can ask your client service rep, because we use it so extensively that we know how to organize things, and it really does help save time. This is a great example right here, ASAE Annual 2023. Only about 5 or 6 of us in the company needed to be involved in those conversations. So all of our planning, all of the historical on what we did, what we sponsored, what the booth was like, everything is there. So it's awesome for future, and you can archive them, but you can look back on them when you need to. So moving into strategy, mind maps is something that, for me, I don't always take the time to think about things outside of maybe writing it in text form or communicating with other team members and talking about it, especially if you're visually inclined and that's helpful for you to see things. You might try some mind mapping tools, and it's great for visualizing ideas. There are a lot of mind map tools out there. I didn't include any specifics here, but definitely look into them, because you'll see things that you wouldn't see unless you put it in visual format, even if it's just a bunch of messy bubbles. I've done that many times before and said, here's the challenge I see that I wouldn't have seen if I didn't look at it this way. The other thing is you can copy it for future quarters or future years. So if you have, say, an annual conference that you want to map out in terms of registration flow or whatever it is, you can then adopt it for future years and just copy it and save your some time in the future. Secondly is I would encourage you to look at your current tech and what you have. Most of the time you are probably underutilizing what you have already. And so taking a look at the capabilities that you have currently in-house can be really helpful for engagement. How might you engage or even automate some of your engagement with tools that you already have? With personalization, there might be some simple things that you can do to personalize the member experience that doesn't need to be in a heavy lift. Predictive analytics, of course, seeing the picture of what how everybody's engaging, or what's happening with this conference registration, or what's happening with membership. Really important for growth and retention. And then also voice of the member data, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but just getting more opportunities to hear from your individuals in your membership in a way that feels personal. So I think that's the key too, is all of these tools, when you're looking at that marketer to machine scale, I think when you start to see things more automated, it might feel like it's going to get less personal, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think there's a really good balance of, there are some things that just can definitely be automated, and they can help you actually get to a personalized state with each of your members. So definitely we're not trying to replace, nor would I ever want to replace anything that takes away from something that should be personal. And then on the tactics side, so we've already talked about ChatGPT. Think about it for other things, things other than content creation. So we know that we can use it to write a whole blog post or answer a question. But as I demonstrated earlier, for the purposes of this presentation, I use it as a way to brainstorm. So I think the key is to start shifting your thinking around, what questions do I need to be asking in order to get what I'm looking to get, whether it's just brainstorming ideas or finding out information you don't even know or don't already know. And then, of course, content curation as well. So the AI tools can be really good opportunities to find out like where to find your content. So like, what are the best sites for X, or there are ways to actually curate your content instead of creating it. And then new channels. We know that there are a ton of channels to communicate on, especially when it comes to member-based organizations. Two that I think are underutilized right now are chatbots and SMS. You can really lighten the load of your staff communications, answering questions, simple, frequently asked questions that you might get 15 emails about a day in your client services inbox that might be able to be answered easily on a chat bot and have it even be a quicker response than what you're receiving in an email. And same thing with SMS. It's highly effective at getting people's attention. It's almost always read when you receive a text. So these are ways to just, think about your tactics, think about all the things that you say, oh yeah, we should be doing that. You can do it pretty easily today, and for low cost too. It's not an expensive endeavor. So it's not always a heavy lift integration like some of us are used to with some of our larger systems. And then the last one I have is Canva. So we design everything in Canva right now, and I have a couple of examples here. The one in the top is we did an event with A2 a couple months ago called the Art of Insights, and we were a little strapped for time. And we thought, okay, if we're going to do more than one of these, we really want some decent branding, but we don't want to spend the time. Like, we just didn't have the time. We needed to get it out the door. So I said, I'm just going to go into Canva and I'm just going to put in some text and see what it comes up with. And this came up and we just all loved it. It looks kind of like a Rubik's Cube that gets figured out eventually. And it was perfect for the combination of art and insights that we were looking for to convey the event. And we also wanted it to be something different and not boring. So we used that as our branding for the event, and everybody really liked it. Some funny examples just from that event when I was putting in some of the text to image. The bottom left.
Getting better with people's faces. Like,
yeah. The human element, ironically, seems to be the most challenging part right now on the text to image. But, some of these lovely people don't really have faces, but we're getting there, definitely. And then this other example is my son plays baseball, and we just started a tournament team. And so the coaches came to me and one other marketer and said, can you come up with something? And so we're in Houston, and we said, it's the Space City Mustang. So why don't we're going to put in the colors, like, an astronaut and a horse and neon green and neon pink. And this is what they came up with. We didn't go with this, but I thought it was entertaining to see some of the ideas, similar to Erica, what you were showing before, just about what's possible to personalize images when you need them. And I don't know I have spent so much time trying to not spend a lot of money on images, but get what I was looking for. And so we have ways around that now, for sure.
Can you imagine, if you think about the progression of what it was, let's say 20 years ago, you needed a logo for your new company. You'd have to go out, find a graphic designer, hire them, make sure to vet them, then who knows what the turnaround's going to be, kind of iterate a few times. And then, Upwork came about and all these gig economy sites. And so it got a little bit easier. And then now, it's really unbelievable how quickly you could turn around a company logo and iterate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I think that's another message too, is at PropFuel, we have one of our key phrases is done is better than perfect. And so sometimes that doesn't apply, but sometimes, especially now, if you can just get something done quickly, it also feels really good to not have a 3-week project on something and just to knock it out. So, so many ways to do that these days. And then before I forget, I wanted to mention one more thing as it relates to Slack. And you had some of those meeting tools, Erica. So we are using Loom pretty extensively. And it's to communicate and save time, both with clients or in your case, if you're a member organization, with members, if you need to explain something, instead of scheduling a 15 or 30 minute phone call, do a 5-minute loom and it'll probably get the job done. And we're putting looms into Slack so that instead of, again, scheduling a meeting, we can just do the explainer and then say, hey, like, follow up with me later if you have more questions on this. But that, using tools together, then like I said, you can also have that. Now you have it in the Slack archive. So when a new employee comes on, they know what to do. Or you can maybe even send it to a couple of members who have the same question. So
we are big Loom fans at Rasa. We use it the exact same way you guys do. We love it.
Okay, handing it back over to you.
All right, let's do it. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Rasa, and then Bree's going to talk a little bit about Prop Fuel and how we also can be yet another tool in your stack for time savings. So there are a couple ways that we're reinventing the newsletter at Rasa. So one is for time savings, and we'll talk a little bit about how that works here in just a moment. But another is for automating the content curation process. So you can imagine, like, if you're the person in charge of the newsletter at your organization, or if you work with that person, curating the content takes a long time. You're going out. So maybe it's all from your own website. You're still having to rewrite article titles, rewrite descriptions, resize imagery, lay it all out in a template. And then you have to go out to the web and figure out what other information might be relevant to my members, or what's relevant in the space today. So one of the ways that we save people a ton of time is that you essentially identify the sources, many of them being your own sources, but a lot of them being external sources who are trustworthy, relevant, and might create content relevant to your members. And so then as those sources produce content, you might also filter it down. You have all that content pulled into Rasa. So you don't have to go out and find the content. It's all pulled in for you. So you're getting the title, the description, the image, all of that's coming into Rasa. And then that's where we believe, the human touch comes in, and you're able to say, okay, all this content looks great. It's come from my trustworthy sources. It hit my filter criteria. Or you say, you know what, I need to turn a couple of these off. Doesn't look awesome. Or everyone needs to see these 3 or 4 things, for example. But then from there, we're going to automate a personalized version for each and every subscriber. And so going back to that idea of, as the marketer, it's so hard to say, okay, what does this data all mean? What did this campaign really tell me about my member behavior and what members want, and interpreting that? We're automatically refining the content that each and every member receives from send to send, without you as the marketer having to say, well, I think Bree wants this, or look at Bree's data and figure out, how her persona changed. But ultimately, you're not having to spend as much time both curating the content and also refining in your campaigns. And so just to kind of reiterate, if you have a podcast, we're pulling that in as you publish. If you share articles to Facebook or LinkedIn, we're pulling those as you publish. A YouTube channel or any external sources that you look to as, hey, these might produce content relevant to my members. And so from this, as we'd call it, the content pool, we're going to say, okay, of these, let's say 50 articles, we know that these are the most relevant for Bree, and these are the most relevant for Erica, and these are for Dan and for Lisa, based on people's reading behaviors and what they're opening and what they're clicking on, and then any other data that you want to share with us as well. And so it's like your Facebook feed or your Netflix instance, where you don't have to take a survey to tell Netflix what you want to watch, and you don't have to take a survey to tell Facebook what to populate into your feed. They do that based on how you're interacting with the platforms. And so that's what we're doing essentially in an email. And so on the front end, it can be absolutely branded by you. We can completely customize your template. All of the look and feel is you, but what actually fills out within each of these emails is based on the member. And so you can imagine if Dan is ascending into a leadership role at his organization, we're going to pick up on that. Maybe he started as a graphic designer, but now he's reading more content about leadership. That's going to automatically change and update what he's getting sent. And so you don't, again, have to tell the system what your members want. We're going to pick up on it automatically. And again, to reiterate, as far as templating goes, we can match your existing style. We can work with you to develop a brand new style and design it custom based on your needs. Do we need webinar sections? Do we need job sections? Do we need this much ad real estate? All of that can be built in so that we can work with you on your existing newsletter strategy and nothing gets lost. And of course, because we're an AI company, we needed to build in the generative stuff too. So if you do want to lean on the robots to help you actually create the introduction or conclusion of your newsletter, you can do that. And you can also use AI to kind of rewrite descriptions of articles as well. So if you don't like necessarily what the publisher put in, you can use AI to help you rewrite that. And I like to say we solve a lot of different problems at RASA for our clients. One being elevating their brand with personalized content. We talked about automation and scale, which is why we're all here today, is to save time or learn about ways to save time. And that's a huge way that we help our clients. Sending data and insights back to you. So it's not just about what you put in, but about what you can get back out of the system. So taking all of those insights into your AMS or CRM to take further action on. And then we hear from a lot of our clients that they appreciate that their promotional content is elevated because that helps with the advertising revenue and the bottom line. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Bree so that she can talk a little bit about Propfuel and all the exciting things happening there.
Thank you. So yeah, I was just thinking about how I think a lot of what both of us, our organizations are doing is trying to eliminate some of the guesswork when it comes to engaging with members and trying to get them really to what they need without guessing. I spent a lot of my time as an association marketer going, well, I don't know, let's just try it. Maybe this will work. And we don't have to do that anymore because we have, again, solutions and tools that we can use to eliminate that guesswork. So at Propfuel, the way we do that is we're flipping the script on what you typically see in, say, a broadcast communication. So there are points in the membership journey where it's helpful to ask a question. So instead of coming from the association side of things and saying, what do we need to tell members, which is typically, I think, where we start when we think about communications, whether it's a message from the ED or it's conference registration is open or your membership is expiring. It's a lot of telling as opposed to finding out more from the members. So the Propfuel platform helps you do that. You start with a question, finding out what you need, what don't you know that would be useful to know to learn more about the member, and then figure out, okay, what should we ask? And that's where the communication comes from. So you might start with a segment of people that's, say your current membership or members who are lapsing within the next 3 months. So segmentation is kind of the start of this start. And I think our systems are similar in that way, Erica. It's, we're starting with the segment, but we're really trying to get down to the bottom of a more personalized experience. And so I wanted to mention just a few quick things. This is just really hot off the press, or not even on the press yet, maybe I should say. Propfuel Blueprint. So what we're working on right now, and we're already using it internally with our current clients, is we're working to reduce the time spent entering all of the manual steps that go into automated programs. So if you haven't, automated workflow programs for, say, communications, it's awesome once you get it working, but you have to get it all set up the way you want. And sometimes that's the really laborious part. So we have blueprints for several different use cases, and that includes everything from renewal nurturing to member acquisition, NPS. We are you'll be able to click a button and say, this is the type of campaign I want, and then just do some editing and get it out the door. So there's a huge time savings there when it comes to keep maintaining your personalized nature of the communications, but also automating a lot of it and automating the build of it, which is really cool and something that I certainly didn't have when I started using marketing automation. And then also PropFuel SMS, this is already out and available. So SMS, as I mentioned earlier, has a very high open rate because it's typically highly relevant if you've opted in, right? There's a reason why you've opted in to receive SMS communications. And I know that there's some sensitivity there around, we don't want to be bombarding members with text communications. Completely agree. However, there are points in the membership, especially say member expiration. That's a great opportunity to say, hey, did you know that your membership expired? Or this is the last day to register, as this example says. So there are a lot of benefits to SMS. There's a time sensitivity about a lot of things related to membership that we have. Some of the things I've already mentioned, registrations, membership renewals, deadlines. And then also the nature of the association relationship, we're in associations, we're much closer to members than, the internet company is that is selling a widget to, an individual and they have no relationship. So it really is a closer relationship, and there's a great opportunity to add this channel from that standpoint. Also, you're giving members a choice about how they want to communicate. If you ask them if they want email or text, now you're giving them more choice and giving them what they want. And you're making it just a little bit more personal of an experience because you can go back and forth and communicate with them over text. So if you're interested in exploring some of the new things, I know we have some clients on today, and some people who may not be familiar with PropFuel at all, but if you're interested in exploring it and seeing the time savings that comes from asking questions and getting new data in, and really finding out more about your members so that you know what to do in the future, then we'd love to talk with you. And I would love to offer you today, if you want to book some time with us, we'll waive the setup fees if you decide to bring on PropFuel. So you can go to our website and check in on that and learn more. And there's a bunch of content as well, case studies and ebooks that you can download as well there. So I think that's all we have. We're at the 12:59. Look at that
timing. We're at the end. And I failed to do my call to action. For anyone who wants to learn more about RASA, please go to rasa.io/demo. We would love to share more with you and your organization. And Bree, thank you so much for this. I think this was hopefully users got a lot out of it, and you have a few things to go back and try today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And happy birthday again.
Happy birthday to you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for being here.